All right, President Trump's first veto is expected to be handed down on the subject of Yemen, as the Republican-led Senate has just passed a resolution to end U.S. involvement in Saudi Arabia's ongoing onslaught on their southern neighbor. The House is expected to concur with the Senate. So where will Congress go from here? Joining us to discuss, former U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras. All right, Jim, do you think POTUS will use his very first veto on this Yemen resolution? And if so, what does this say about his administration's position on the humanitarian crisis there?
I think he will probably veto it. If he did not, basically he would be accepting his powers being clipped as a constitutional matter. You know, it's a very odd resolution. It starts out quoting the Constitution and the Congress's authority to make war, which of course is the constitutional authority that's been a dead letter for decades. It doesn't even invoke the power of the purse. It doesn't cut off use of funds for operations in Yemen, which is a very odd thing. But I think the main reason he would veto it is not only because he would have his wings clipped if he didn't. On the other hand, his veto will be sustained. He's got enough Republicans on his side that the veto will stand.
And not to mention what that could do to the relationship, right, as we were talking about in Saudi Arabia with MBS and what that would do there.
Well, unfortunately, that's the reality behind this. We have not only the Saudis, but the Israelis, for whom it's all Iran, 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 and everything in Yemen is about Iran. In fact, there's even a little carve-out in the bill that exempts operations against al-Qaeda. Let's be serious. Operations against al-Qaeda is effectively an ally of the Saudis in their war against the Houthis. So, you know, this is a bit of a fiction.
So they're useful there, al-Qaeda. The U.S., though, as we know, hasn't directly, per se, been involved in this war in Yemen, but its intelligence aid, the arms sales to the kingdom, and the UAE have really contributed to this disaster that we're seeing. If Congress is virtually unanimous on this stance, what more can they do to stop U.S. involvement? And you know, if President Trump does this veto sticks?
Well, they could cut off funds. I mean, they could bar use of funds for operations in Yemen. They could bar, obviously, arms sales to the Saudis. And in fact, we do have people on the ground in Yemen. We have special forces. We have intelligence assets, again, fighting al-Qaeda. But as we know, Iran is the real big enemy, and that means the Houthis are really all 10-foot-tall Iranians. It's a very confused situation. There are other things Congress could do, but given, look, one of the things that really worries me here in Manila is that Trump came into office with his campaign pledges to turn the direction of American policy, to get away of this neocon meddling in the Middle East.
Right.
And instead, I think he's been painted into that corner, and now just to preserve whatever's left of his status as president, he has to basically hold up the John Bolton, Mike Pompeo flag and MBS and BB and whatever they want.
So, Jim, we know that this is the Pompeo doctrine, the Bolton doctrine. We know that. It's expected. But right now, there are 14 million people at risk of famine in Yemen. 85,000 children have so far literally starved to death there. If Congress can't get the resolution through, it gets vetoed. Can other aid groups in the U.S. Get around this political football that is Yemen?
Well, we know when we're confronted with a terrible humanitarian crisis like this, I think as soon as Juan Guaido is sworn in as president.
Right, that humanitarian crisis
that's a different humanitarian crisis, the one we're helping to cause, which is 100 times worse than anything could be pointed at with regard to Venezuela. We are not helping to stop it, we are abetting it. And I think callousness, cruelty doesn't even begin to describe what is going on here. And frankly, the people in the administration really don't care.
It's harsh reality.
Now, can something be done about it? I don't know, but I don't, again, if Congress, I don't see it happening, no.
And Senate co-sponsors of the bill, Bernie Sanders, Mike Lee, Chris Murphy, so it's bipartisan. They are invoking the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Is that applicable here?
Yes and no. As I said, the first finding in the bill starts out with what the Constitution actually says, which is Congress has the authority to make war. At the end of the bill, it specifically says there's nothing in here that's construed as a War Powers Resolution authorization. So I think they're trying to keep the War Powers Resolution out of it. They're not invoking the War Powers Resolution. They're actually appealing to the Constitution, which is where somebody like Mike Lee comes in. So you have a few Republicans who are basically saying, you know, we've got this 18th century document, you know, those guys with the wigs and the knee breeches. Let's follow that for a change. I think most of the Democrats, unfortunately, this is just their partisan politics to say, let's take a shot at the orange man. So there's nothing edifying going on here, I'm afraid to say.
So as you see it, no matter which way Trump goes, whether it's left or right, he's painted into a corner anyway.
I think he's found himself on the worst possible ground to defend what's left of what was supposed to be America First policy. Now he's forced, in order to preserve his own authority, to keep going with his Israel and Saudi Arabia first policy.
And allow these
and to abet this humanitarian catastrophe, which is on our hands, Manila.
All right, we'll leave that right there. All right, Jim Jatras, thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.